Welcome to the Runway, where we cover current events in crypto, Web3, and tech. It's Tuesday, January 30th. Let's take off. All right, guys, first up. Visa enables crypto withdrawals on debit cards in 145 countries. MetaMask users can now sell crypto directly to a Visa card, which eliminates the need to use centralized exchanges. Global payment giant Visa is doubling down on cryptocurrency adoption by enabling another method to exchange crypto to fiat currencies without using a centralized exchange. Visa has partnered with the Web3 infrastructure provider Transact to introduce cryptocurrency withdrawals and payments through the Visa Direct solution, the firms announced on January 30th. The new integration allows users to withdraw cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin directly from a wallet like MetaMask to a Visa debit card. Available immediately, the integration enables one to exchange crypto to fiat and pay at 130 million merchant locations where Visa is accepted. By enabling real-time card withdrawals through Visa Direct, Transact is delivering a faster, simpler, and more connected experience for its users, making it easier to convert crypto balances into fiat. Very cool here. We're seeing increased adoption. Mainstream companies wade into the space more and start to allow their users and their consumers, people who use their networks, to pay how they like to pay in whatever cryptocurrency or currency of their choice, which I think is great for the market optionality. Always wins. Next up, SIM swapping ring stole $400 million in crypto from a U.S. company allegedly targeted Apple, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile stores in 13 states. The U.S. may have uncovered the nation's largest SIM swap scheme yet, charging a Chicago man and co-conspirators with allegedly stealing $400 million in cryptocurrency by targeting over 50 victims in more than a dozen states, including one company. A recent indictment alleged that Robert Powell, using online monikers R and R Dollar and El Swapo One, was the head of a SIM swapping group called the Powell SIM Swapping Crew. He allegedly conspired with Indiana man Carter Roan, aka Cardi, and Punslayer, and Colorado woman Emily Hernandez, allegedly aka EM, to gain access to a victim's devices and carry out fraudulent SIM swapping attacks between March 2021 and April 2023. So SIM swapping is this idea of pretending to be somebody that you're not and showing up with either fake or forged identity documents, or just using social engineering to manipulate an employee who works at a telephone company, and basically they give you a new SIM card with somebody's identity that allows you to sort of restore all their data and information and phone number onto a new device. And then for people that, have cryptocurrency or have any kind of bank accounts or whatever, they will pretend to be you, and they will use that 2FA where they send you a text message to extract funds, whether that be bank accounts or cryptocurrency. And we all know that cryptocurrency, just like cash, if somebody SIM swaps you and goes to an ATM or has your debit card and they plug it in and they pull cash out of that ATM and cover their face, that cash is sort of stolen. It's gone. You can't get it back. They can't physically get that cash back. And crypto works the same way, whereas it's a bearer asset. So if they're able to, breach your Coinbase account or a custodial exchange, and you don't have your funds secured with a different method, like a ledger or a hardware wallet, your long-term funds, they can access those funds and basically send the 2FA code to your phone to steal those funds, right? So it's really amazing that they caught this guy and they put him out of business. Hopefully these victims will see their funds returned. Moving on to our next story. Anoka Brands and Lightlink partner on Web3 games with no gas fees. Anoka Brands and Lightlink have partnered to enhance Web3 games with no gas fees for blockchain transactions. Gas fees are a common scourge for Web3 games when they are heavy transactions on a blockchain network. But Anoka Brands, which has numerous investments in blockchain games, has partnered with Lightlink, an Ethereum Layer 2 blockchain that enables decentralized apps, dApps, and enterprises to offer users instant, gasless transactions. Gas fees have been a significant access barrier for Web3 gaming, which doesn't have enough support for mainstream consumers. This idea of gas fees on a blockchain. Gas is essentially anytime you want to publish a transaction to a blockchain and have it take up space on the chain, you have to pay for that right? So we don't have spam and things being wasted and people putting pictures of cats or whatever and not paying for those pictures of cats to put them on the blockchain, right? To sort of protect precious block space. Games, in this idea of Web3 and metaverse and blockchain gaming, this idea of being able to sort of have these assets on chain and have proof that you physically own these items, whether it be in a game, whether it be an NFT of a character or anything like that, that idea of putting those things on chain to have true ownership is part of the reason that so many investors and people are sort of pouring in, and gamers are starting to lean into this and learn more about it. Because in a lot of games, there's no way to protect yourself from duplications and fakes, and the developers can sort of freeze accounts and they can duplicate items on the sly on the back end. And there is real world value in a lot of these games. For any of you who have played World of Warcraft or some of those other games, those accounts are traded for a lot of money. The in-game assets are traded for a lot of money. And there's also tons of forgeries and fakes and duplications that occur within those ecosystems. But when you have more transparency and you have things on chain, you sort of protect yourself from a lot of that. And you can really verify whether that rare sword or staff that you have, that you earned, is actually so rare, because you can actually query it and see, okay, how many of these staffs actually exist on chain. Now, part of the hiccup with all this is that to publish to different blockchains, there's a gas fee or a fee required. And this fee can, at certain times, if there's a lot of use, be quite high. We saw this on Ethereum in the last market cycle, and we're starting to see that even on some of these layer 2 and side chains. What Lightlink is doing, they don't really explore the mechanism behind this, but they might be like an additional settlement layer where they batch hundreds of transactions or thousands or millions of transactions together over, say an hour, 2 hours, and then publish that snapshot. So it's not minute to minute, but it's happening at some point during the day. Another concept that it potentially could be using is this idea of gas stations, right? Where a game will set aside a amount of cryptocurrency or whatever the gas token is, and they will put that in this idea of a gas station, and that contract will pay all of the gas fees as the users are, using the contract and playing the game, right? So very interesting and nice to see, because we can't really have an advancement in Web3 gaming without getting the gas fee situation sort of under control, right? So it's this idea of trade-offs. How much decentralization do you really need when you're playing a game? But you also want to have some protection to have that transparency to see the assets on chain. You don't necessarily need the same level of decentralization that you would need with Bitcoin when you're storing your life's energy in this global decentralized scarce money. With that, you want the ultimate level of decentralization. But when you have a sword or a staff, it might be valued at $150, if you were to sell it in some way, but it's not your life's savings. So you don't necessarily need the same level of decentralization with that. But, a little bit would be okay. Let's move on to our next story. Ted Cruz, Cynthia Lummis, and 16 other U.S. senators now aligned with Coinbase's Stand With Crypto group. So this is a Coinbase-backed nonprofit, Stand With Crypto Alliance, and it looks like we've got some strong lawmakers that are getting involved and coming behind this, and that's beautiful to see. It's basically an initiative for clear digital asset regulation in the country. The Stand With Crypto Alliance advocacy group says that U.S. Senators Ted Cruz and Cynthia Lummis are strongly supportive of crypto, with the two lawmakers having sponsored or co-sponsored 11 crypto bills between them. According to the Stand With Crypto Alliance, the two senators' position on crypto earns them an A score. Other U.S. senators with an A score for their strongly supportive position on crypto are Ted Budd, Bill Hagerty, Kirsten Gillibrand, John Cornyn, Tommy Tuberville, Ron Wyden, Steve Daines, Marsha Blackburn, Cory Booker, Mark Wayne Mullen, Todd Young, Kristen Sinema, Tom Tillis, and Mike Lee. So let's give them a round of applause, and let's give these people a boo. The people we're going to give a boo are down here, which are Elizabeth Warren, boo, Sherrod Brown, boo, and Roger Marshall, boo. These are some of the lawmakers who score an F for their strongly against stance on crypto, according to the Coinbase-backed nonprofit. The digital asset advocacy group, whose goal is to mobilize the 52 million American crypto owners into a powerful force, assigns an A score to Robert Kennedy and Dean Phillips for their strongly supportive stance, while Donald Trump gets a B for his supportive position. The incumbent President Joe Biden scores a D for his against stance on crypto. Could not agree more with these rankings. I think they, sort of hit the nail on the head. I'd like to just add that while Vivek Ramaswamy was still in the race, he was a strong A candidate as well. But I think they hit the nail on the head with RFK Jr. And I haven't examined and learned too much about Dean Phillips' position, but hearing that he's strongly supportive, I'll give him the thumbs up there. Let's move on to our next story. Elon Musk says Neuralink has implanted brain chip in human. Elon Musk said that the first human received a Neuralink brain implant, a potential milestone in the development of brain-computer interface technology that could one day help those suffering from debilitating conditions such as paralysis to interact with their surroundings. Technology moves forward, and it looks like they put this chip into a quadriplegic, so somebody who can, really move or do anything. It gives them a chance to maybe see if there's a way to get some movement back into his limbs, right? They did say that there was a neuron spike detection when this happened, when the Neuralink was communicating or detecting signals from inside the brain. So very, very interesting. This is going to start as a tool for people that have been seriously injured or having serious problems, a way to sort of stimulate those regions of the brain that are faulty. And it's fascinating. Next up, Vitalik Buterin says developers should tread carefully mixing crypto and AI. The Ethereum co-founder has warmed up on the potential interaction between AI and crypto, though he warns developers to be careful. Using the analogy of a game, Buterin divides the potential overlaps between AI and blockchain into 4 distinct categories. The most viable category, according to Buterin, contains applications where AI acts as a player in a game. At a high level, this category captures apps where the ultimate source of the incentives comes from a protocol with human inputs. An example of this would be a prediction market. AI can be used to predict the outcome of a given event, and a blockchain-based mechanism can enforce the rules around how much the AI or the person operating it should be rewarded or penalized based on its guesses. The next category, which Buterin tags as high potential but with high risks, includes applications where AI acts as an interface to the game. In these applications, AI is used to help users understand the crypto world around them and ensure their behavior matches their intentions. Buterin gives the example of the scam detection features, like the one used in the MetaMask crypto wallet to warn users if they might be interacting with a deceptive application. Such features could be supercharged by AI's enhanced detection and explanatory capabilities. The third category defined by Buterin describes apps where AI dictates the rules of the game. Think AI judges. He explained, warning that one should tread very carefully when exploring this problem space. An obvious crypto use case here would be to help DAOs or decentralized autonomous organizations make subjective decisions using AI. Buterin's fourth category for the potential intermarriage of AI and crypto includes use cases where AI is the objective of the game. This longer-term category involves using blockchains as infrastructure for building better AI models. While Buterin said he is more optimistic than he once was about the intersections between AI and crypto, he does see potential challenges with balancing the transparency of crypto with the customary opaqueness of black box AI systems. In cryptography, open source is the only way to make something truly secure, but in AI, a model, or even its trading data, being open greatly increases its vulnerability to adversarial machine learning attacks. Well, Mr. Buterin, I could not disagree with you more, actually. I think that having these models be open source actually allows people to troubleshoot and to see what's under the hood, to see where the problems lie, and to stop potentially much larger problems that develop behind a black box with the open source community. Let the community take a look at small problems that pop up and identify vulnerabilities in very much the same way we do with cryptography, right? A lot of people have said this even about Ledger. They don't have anything really open source. All of the open source stuff that's happened in the cryptography community, all these privacy enhancing features, all this has been developed by being open source, right? Bitcoin's code, for example, it has to be challenged. It has to be tested. He's just sort of buying into this fake narrative that, everything has to be behind closed doors and we have to keep everything, opaque here with AI. And I disagree strongly with that sentiment. Open source as much of this as possible. And that way we can stop small problems before they grow into really big problems, right? Next up, Taylor Swift and No AI Fraud Act, how Congress plans to fight back against AI. Taylor Swift's likeness was used for non-consensual, seemingly AI-generated deepfake pornography, which spread across the internet like wildfire last week. The mass circulation of the photos commanded headlines and reconfronted lawmakers with a question: should U.S. citizens be federally protected against AI abuse? The potential obscene ramifications of the artificial intelligence technology boom have long been feared by cyber civil rights organizations such as CCRI and are now seemingly unavoidable by the public and lawmakers alike. Many social media users saw the explicit, fabricated images of Swift last week, which was met with decries from Swift's massive fan base, alarm from the White House, and outspoken fear of AI abuse from the lawmakers such as Rep. Joe Morrell, Democrat from New York, who is renewing efforts to make non-consensual sharing of digitally altered explicit images a federal crime with jail time and fines. So really sucks what happened to Taylor Swift, and you don't wish that on anybody. That being said, don't we already have laws or things on the book for the abuse of people with these deep fakes? I mean, we've got all sorts of images that have been photoshopped and edited and stuff. I mean, this is really no different than that. It's just another tool that can be used for good or for bad, right? So there's already fake celebrity impersonation sites that do all this stuff. So I don't really think this is a new problem. It's just maybe something that made its way out, and there's all this negative sentiment around to be scared about this new technology. And I think this is just another example of that. My question is, these fake images, there's already fake images that exist. There have already been fake images that exist, whether it's Photoshop or an AI generated non-consensual thing. Let's look at what's already on the books here. Is there a way that we already can deal with that instead of passing all these new laws and all these new legislations? Let's move on. Microsoft adds new restrictions to designer AI used to make Taylor Swift deepfakes. So it looks like some of this stuff can be presented at the model level itself. Microsoft has updated its free online designer AI image generator to prevent users from creating more images resembling celebrities in explicit scenarios, according to independent media outlet 404 Media. So there's already stuff that can be done at the level of the model itself and who's hosting and running the model and selling the model and giving away access to the model, right? But there will always be open source stuff that people can download and do it themselves. And just like Photoshop, people can use Photoshop to make any picture they want. It's the same scenario, right? Next up, Yelp Ads AI Summaries, budgeting tools and push to aid businesses. This article is really cool. They're talking here about helping different businesses that might not have posted and updated their summaries and stuff. And it also helps customers find the business, right? So it's a win-win across the board. An example of using AI to make the world a better place, smooth business transactions, allow new customers to find businesses they might be interested in, and allow businesses who are very busy and might not always be updating their Yelp platform to have a new way to stay competitive with, say, companies that might pay a lot more to have everything manicured. Now you have this option, this ability for, say, the individual who just moved to a new state or a new area, and maybe their English language skills aren't so great and their technological skills aren't so great. This is a nice way for Yelp to level the playing field. And with our final story of the day here, India's ancient carpet weaving industry meets AI. I thought this was really cool. So there's this ancient symbolic code which lies behind the intricate patterns of Kashmir's traditional hand-woven carpets and rugs. It's called talim. The code has been used for hundreds of years to design carpets and convey information to weavers. And what they've done is they're using AI to streamline the process that could take months and potentially even years, where there's a lot of communication between the individual who's making the carpet, and they will send the design of the code. They'll send that off. It might take a long time before they can make sure that all of the code, the Talim code, is written correctly and there's no mistakes and there's no problem. What they're doing now is they're actually using AI software to sort of make sure that the chunks of code is legit, so they can move a lot faster with their design and they can create more rugs more quickly. This sort of goes with this whole concept of AI being a useful tool to sort of augment existing businesses and existing workflows to make the world a better place. Let's take a look at some Twitter posts. GNU Taler is an e-cash system for central banks. I've recently met the GNU Taler team. They asked, why do Bitcoiners hate us so much? I told them to check their own website. Screenshots of their advantages for governments page. Note the Bitcoin FUD in efficient. So if we look in here, we can see Taler has an efficient design. Unlike blockchain-based payment systems such as Bitcoin, Taler will not threaten the availability of national electric grids or significantly contribute to environmental pollution, right? So there is the favorite FUD narrative yet again that we've seen so much of, when in fact Bitcoin actually strengthens grids and it actually helps put forward environmentally green infrastructure by incentivizing the production of that, because you have a consumer that's consuming that and being able to subsidize the cost of putting in that infrastructure, which is still very, very high. Do you understand the privacy benefits of the system they are proposing? So it's fundamentally Chaumian, right? But they ID the recipients for the stated tax purposes, but it would be impossible for them to determine who sent the money. Interesting. That's the idea. The huge issue with this framework is that they only think of customer and merchant. It's not about user to user. I don't know how they're going to allow me sending money to my friends without the friend being a KYC'd merchant. Not only that, they most certainly come with a backdoor if governments wish to have one. Another interesting privacy potential violation there, but we can't say for sure. Another interesting implementation of a sort of digital money. And again, in a market, you'll have all sorts of options that can compete. The SEC Gov has just filed a brief in the Debtbox case saying that it intends to dismiss the lawsuit against the company. The SEC is choosing dismissal rather than face possible sanctions from the judge for misleading the court in order to secure a restraining order and asset freeze against Debtbox. They basically want to be able to dismiss this without prejudice so they can come back and sue again later. And pursue some kind of case again. What happened here apparently is that they actually fabricated false evidence or had incorrect evidence where they were able to freeze accounts and stop the business from operating with this misleading and false evidence they presented to the judge, right? So now they've realized this and they don't think they're going to win the case, so they're trying to quickly dismiss it, right? So the question is, hopefully the judge will hold the SEC accountable here for the fake evidence that they presented. So in November, you can read here, federal judge Robert Shelby ordered SEC attorneys to explain why they shouldn't be sanctioned by the court after presenting what he regarded as false and misleading evidence in their attempt to bring a temporary restraining order against Debtbox and other defendants. The SEC was granted a TRO in August 23 following the evidence presentation. Let's move on. Breaking. PayPal has begun company-wide layoffs just 2 weeks after the CEO said they would shock the world. Very interesting why they're announcing so many layoffs. Move to El Salvador ASAP. Escape the immigration apocalypse. We're expecting 500,000 middle-class and high-net-worth individual Salvadorans from the U.S. to move here over the next 6 months, and our GDP is set to double over the next 5 years. Plus, El Salvador is now officially safer than Canada. Move to El Salvador, the new land of the free. No fentanyl crisis, no shootings, no lootings, lowest crime rate in the Americas, USD and Bitcoin as legal tenders, no currency conversions, great coffee, great weather, and great beaches. Gotta say, that's looking pretty good there, Max. A huge reason I am 100% all in on Bitcoin. Bank tellers. And what is the reason for needing this amount of your money today? I don't know if any of you guys have ever experienced this. I definitely have withdrawn money and been questioned or want to use my money to do something. I just find it ridiculous that they can even ask this question. It's like going to the store and buying something and then the clerk shaking you down, hey, why are you buying this towel? Why are you buying this? I mean, it's none of their business what you're doing with your own funds and your own money, in my opinion. Climate change will be used by central banks as an excuse to print more money and as a scapegoat when inflation gets out of control. In reality, central banks and the creation of fiat currency ex nihilo is the most destructive force on the planet. Yes, I agree.
Last year, we're just a preview of what is to come. A hotter climate and nature loss are changing our economy and our financial system. At the ECB, we must understand this change to ensure financial stability and to fulfill our price stability mandate. With our new climate and nature plan, we focus on the following three things. First, the green transition. Second, the growing physical impact of climate change. And third, the risks from nature loss and degradation. We will study the impact on the economy and the financial system. This will help us improve our own models. We will also work to reduce our carbon footprint in everything we do, from banknotes to how we supervise banks.
Love how she does that little last part in there. Reduce our carbon footprint from banknotes. Like we spoke about the other day, how most of the money is not even physical. It's just, digital already. 99, 97, 98, 99% of all fiat money is already just printed numbers in the screen. They didn't actually even physically go through the time to mint those physical pieces of paper, right? Because that would just take forever to do. So I love how she just like throws that in there, like, oh, we're gonna stop actually like printing the bills themselves, like, just to reduce our carbon footprint. I love that. Just in, 21 Shares president says spot Bitcoin ETFs is one of the best ETF launches of all time.
Seen in tons of flows, and are they making you confident?
Yes, is the extremely short answer to that question. At the end of the day, these flows have been really promising. It's one of the best ETF launches of all time. We've seen north of $600 million in assets come into our product just in the last couple of weeks. That's really exciting because it's coming from a diversified base. And so while, yes, you're seeing some churn through legacy products, you're seeing movement towards new product in the market that actually has a lot of really critical features towards welcoming advisors into the community, which is ultimately, I think, how we're going to start to see the crypto ecosystem evolve from here.
And I will let you guys out on that note with Ophelia Snyder's comment. Stay safe, stay blessed, never stop learning, and keep an open mind. Thanks for listening.